Okay, this video is going to entail a quick explanation of how the characters work, at least as of right now. We're still a very alpha version of this game. Maybe we're into the beta. Well, I might say we're into the beta version of this game. But essentially, this is just going to give us a quick overview of how each of the characters work. So if you guys were to play test with somebody, make your own board, and are showing them, you know how the functions work. And I might get into a couple of the we'll say the trickier setups and stuff as the video goes on, or I might get into that next game for some of the questions that have come up. And for right now, these three are pretty solid: the archer, the mage, and the thief. As far as balance of power and everything else goes, they have been played as the most, and they were the first ones made, and they are pretty darn solid. For this video, we're doing this alchemist. The red with this is going to be the knight, and the blue with this is going to be the joker. These guys have not been play tested as much, and they are still fairly new and much in the alpha stage of testing. But I will go through. So again, archer, mage, thief, alchemist, knight, and joker. And these are some of the pieces that will be associated with the mage and the alchemist, and I will get to those as we go. So before we get to that, we'll start first with the archer. This will be our test dummy. Our opponent's piece, as it were. The archer can is supposed to be long range. Originally, he was the attacker. So he can move vertically or horizontally. All the pieces can move vertically or horizontally. The only exceptions are the thief, the knight when his kill moves, and the barriers. We will get into those later, but as of right now, I want to clarify those are the three only pieces that can move diagonally. Everyone else moves horizontally or vertically, so we don't have to continue saying that for each piece. The archer would make his roll. Obviously, he can move up to 4. A normal kill would be when you move your piece into any one of the adjacent squares around your opponent's piece, which I maybe should have explained in the last video. But you move your piece to an adjacent square, whether that be 1, 2, 3, 4, it's a kill. But normally you have to be base to base with this enemy. The archer, on the other hand, let's say the max roll is 4, so this guy is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away. You're never going to be able to get to base contact with him because you're rolling with a d4. So let's say he rolled a d4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Most characters wouldn't be able to get this guy, and now they're in danger because he only needs to roll a 1 to kill you. The archer's cool, though, because if you are 1 square away vertically, basically these 4 spots away from the archer when he ends his turn, you can kill one of them. You can kill 1 square away, so he has a bigger range. That's the archer's bit. That's why he's kind of cool. The thief is pretty straightforward, probably the easiest one to get a grasp of. And you can move him diagonally. So his really only special ability is moving diagonal. He can switch directions at any time, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. So you can go 1, 2, 3, 4. That way he can move around things a lot quicker. He can zip across the board and get the sneaky kills. The next one up is the mage. Both the mage and alchemist are kind of harder to understand, maybe the joker to a sense as well, because they involve more elements than just their own piece. Again, the mage can move up to 4 with the dice roll, but their cool ability is putting out barriers or walls. When they are put out, it's the same as if you were starting a game. You can put them anywhere adjacent to your mage, but at least one has to be adjacent to the mage, and the other one has to be adjacent to the other barrier or the mage itself. Once they are out, they are out. You can't withdraw them, you can't do anything else with them. But from this point on, once they are out and you make a movement roll, you use that and you decide if I'm going to move my mage or one of my barriers. You can't split up the roll between them and move one, two places, one, another one. It's all or nothing. So let's say you're trying to move defense, so you use that 4 to move that barrier in front of you. The cool thing about barriers are archers can't shoot through a barrier. So he could not shoot through this, and you also cannot move through a barrier, so they are protective. He's a much more defensive-based person, and really out of the first 3, it's essentially defense, attack, and speed. So that's the cool thing about him. Archers, to go back, let's say this is your teammate, and this is a guy you're trying to get, you can't shoot through a teammate. So, sorry for missing out on that one. From here on out, we are going into ones that haven't been play tested as much and are very liable to change. The first one up is going to be the Joker. So let's say these are your 2 teammates. The Joker is good for players who like to mess with the games or mess with their opponents or maybe change their chances a little bit. The Joker can choose to skip his movement roll and use it to re-roll one of these. So let's say these guys got a bad roll, he needs to get a 4 to kill an opponent. The Joker, and he rolls a 2 or a 3. The Joker can then skip his movement and you would re-roll. Sometimes it's not going to work out, other times it'll work out just fine. He can do that. He can skip his movement to wait and not re-roll any of your pieces, but wait until it's your opponent's turn and make them re-roll. So let's say they have to get a 4 to get you, and they roll a 4. You're like, ah, crap, I'm going to make you re-roll that. They only get a 3, so now they can't kill you. So you saved your butt there. Or, if the Joker is moving, he only moved to 1, I want to get away, I'm going to re-roll my own movement, and he can roll 2. So essentially, the Joker just deals with substituting his movement to either re-roll enemies or can re-roll his own movement. So he's a big game changer. The Knight is much like the Archer in the sense that he gets a little bit of an extra range, but there's enough difference to where they're not quite the same creature. So the Knight's special ability is if he is able to make a kill, 1, 2, 3, 4, by moving 1 more square by the end. So if his max range is 4, again with the D4, he can move a 5th movement because he can kill him. If this guy was 2 squares away, he wouldn't be able to take that extra 5th movement because he can't make a kill. But if this guy was here, boom, he gets the kill, or I suppose 1, 2, 3, 4. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. He can make this, so he kills. He can make this, so he kills. The Knight is the only one who can move diagonally besides the Thief, but only when it's to make the kill. Otherwise, he's vertical and horizontal. If he cannot make a kill, he cannot move diagonally whatsoever. That puts him in a little more danger than perhaps the Archer, because the Archer can at least still be a little bit of ways from him. So he kind of has to run into the fray, and he's also the longest distance moving one so far. And then the last one for now is the Alchemist, who is really the one I'm having the most thoughts about right now. The other 2 Joker's rulings might be switched a little bit in the Night. We'll see about. I think I like those guys kind of for what they are, but the Alchemist is probably the hardest one to get a grasp on as of right now and most liable to change. But as of right now, the Alchemist can cast 2 different spells, a Firebomb and an Ice Bomb, or an Ice spell and a Fire spell. What he does, normal movement, he can place one of these spells in a square 1 adjacent away from him. So he can't place it anywhere near him. It has to be 1 square away. So that's pretty much anywhere in this area. You can't move it farther than that. So 1 square away. And then once it's out, it stays there. This is a firebomb. And we'll say he placed an ice bomb as well. You can deploy them at different times, unlike the barriers where they both go at the same time. You can save one up until near the end, but for right now, we're just going to put them both out. So now, the mage can move on, and do, or the alchemist can move on and do whatever he wants. But if an opposing character were to come into, we'll do the fire square first. So if they come into an adjacent square with this fire, it explodes, and both the piece and the firebomb are removed from game. So it essentially just bursts them into flames, and they're gone. So it can be a very offensive thing. You know someone's coming down, you place that out, now they either have to go around it, or they might fall into it and die. The other one is the ice, and once they move into that, their movement is halved until they are out. Again, this is probably more defensive, and it slows people down. Or I'm going to have it where you just, once you land in it, you have to skip your next movement roll. But I think for players it's easier to remember that your movement is halved when you're adjacent to an ice. Another thing is when you are deploying these, you can't deploy them where there's already a person. So you can't deploy them on or near someone. It has to be a completely open area. Otherwise, you run into issues where you have a firebomb placed between two people, and then next turn, once your turn is done, it moves to their turn. They would both blow up, and right now that's too big an advantage for them. So it has to be in a completely open area, so the enemy does have an option or a chance to avoid or go around. I might end up making this one an elementalist, where if you come within a square, it's an effect zone, so like it might be a lightning or an air one. So if you go through here, your movement is doubled. So if you roll a 4 here, you can really move 8, and that's a big game changer. Or again, another slowdown, another fire spell, and then another one that, I don't know exactly what, completely stops movement or something. But yeah, we'll see about the alchemist so far. But yeah, I hope that clears things up. If you have any questions, just post them on the Facebook page, or if you want any more clarification. I know there was a big point I was going to make with this that I had forgotten now, but if I remember that, I'll throw it on there. So until then, I hope that all of this has made sense, and if I need to make any more videos for explanations, I will.